Let me tell you this. I haven't made probably an independent decision in the last 40 years. They've always been collective. So I don't take individual responsibility for all the things I do because two heads are better than one. And I was fortunate enough as a youngster to join. We had a little group when I was on college campus called Uhuru that was Swahili for Freedom. And it's out of that little group where we decided to make decisions to take on things. And it's so important to have a constant leadership development core that you got to work on all the time. I can jump all the way up to today. You see I got Mitch and Waistline and Lonzo over here right now and Charles. We decided to take on this struggle around health care. And in order to do that, we have 2 meetings a week we have to do. We got a meeting at Local 22 called Retirees for Single Payer, and then we meet Thursday down at the church and go over theoretical things and theoretical questions so we can tighten up our understanding of this world and strengthen our ability to go back to the meeting on Monday. And we have to do that as consciously as possible. We can't do one without the other. We got to have the theoretical struggle. But the struggle is the school itself. You got to study, but you got to struggle, because out of the struggle becomes the real educational lessons that you apply to things that you study. And that way it becomes real and live to you, and you really got to hold on to them. We used to have, one of the problems we had back in the 60s was that we'd have 35 workers over at the Unicom office ready to study Marxism as a science and couldn't find nobody that could teach it. We spent money we sent for James Foreman and everybody else that run around talking about they was Marxists, and would bring them in here to try to study. They didn't know how to teach nothing. And we put them up. I mean, we give them a place to stay, something to eat, come in here and teach, and we had to end up running them out of town. See?
I heard that.
So the struggle for education was primary for us, battling to try to learn. Especially after the organization split and the little intellectual section left us, and we sitting up there looking at each other, we got to figure out how we're going to fight our way out of this. So it's indispensable that you keep a leadership core and you constantly study and reevaluate, the work that you're doing, so we can keep on struggling and fighting straight. And that's really important. I was fortunate enough, Chris, to get through a lot of those early battles with the police. I didn't have too many awards, man. Most of the things I've done, I think I went to jail every year of my life from 1963 to 1971. I finally met somebody who told me to sit my big butt down and study. So it ain't like you learn. And in the 60s left us with 2 type of people. We were talking about it earlier. It left us with those that fought and refused to think, and those that thought and refused to fight. So we had 2 kind of people.
Yeah.
One of them sitting up talking stuff all the time, thinking, and the other one's fighting all the time, ain't got sense enough to study. It took us 20 years to try to make thinkers into fighters and fighters into thinkers. And when we get that dialected, then we got something to work with. But that was the kind of past we had. And that's why you got to really fight for theory all the time. You got to fight for theory, do your theoretical study, and then carry it out and sum up those practices that you do, and keep an ongoing, steady leadership working, because we're going to be in for a long, difficult battle, and it's going to take time. We got to have a protracted outlook on this thing,